Just a girl and her dog who quarantine and vlog.
I've been living in the North Pole for about 2 months now. Technically, the town is still called Chicago. I didn't have to change my address, and my mail is still being sent to Chicago, and I'm still getting my mail here, but the location is completely different from where I used to live. I don't remember how we got here, but I know that at some point there was a change, and it went from living in the city and town that I love with favorable weather to living in the pole, the North Pole. And I don't know specifically what day this transition happened. It started with a weather forecast. We were expecting snow, about a foot of snow. I clearly remember, it's like my last memory of being in Chicago. I was going to the grocery store and I was stocking up on food. I remember that I got 2 loaves of bread. I put 1 loaf in the fridge and I put the other in the freezer. And that day now was probably a month and a half ago. That's the last thing that I remember, because I remember the snowstorm hit, and since then I've been in the North Pole. The snow started on a Friday night. It did not stop. I don't even remember that weekend that clearly. I couldn't even tell you what did we do that weekend. The snow stopped. I think it was a Monday that the snow stopped. Then the next weekend was another snowstorm. We probably got another foot of snow. On that following Monday, the snow stopped and the sun came out. And I remember having a brief moment of clarity that this was different. This was a different climate. And then that next weekend was a polar vortex of -20-degree wind chills. Most of the days I couldn't see outside the window, whether it was a blizzard or the windows were covered in ice because of the polar vortex. This was the 3rd week now of not knowing where I was or what was going on outside. And somehow we thought that if we could get through the polar vortex, we would be on the other side of this. But then the weather forecast that Wednesday came back and said there would be another polar vortex the next weekend. I was running low on food, so I had to get additional groceries to get me through an additional 2 weeks of -degree weather. And I'm trying to remember Chicago before this happened. And I remember very clearly walking through Lincoln Park in every other year and it being, almost pleasant. So that's how I know that I somehow am now in the North Pole. The 2 waves of the polar vortex came and went, and it was another work week. And towards the end of the week, I realized this coming weekend, there were multiple blizzards scheduled in addition to a polar vortex. There was a polar vortex and blizzards for about 4 days straight. It felt like 4 days. Luckily, before this unplanned move happened, I had been following this girl on YouTube who lives in the North Pole. Back in early December, I would say, I was watching all of her videos, and the spirit moved me to purchase these Arctic clothes brands. And I purchased all of the polar vortex -40-degree clothing to be more like her. It's a good thing I did that, because now I live here. Her name is Cecilia, and she lives on Svalbard, and I will link her YouTube channel to this video so you can follow her and prepare yourself as well in case this happens to you too. She has a husky as a dog. I have a short-haired Chihuahua Dachshund mix. She absolutely hates the cold. Nobody asked to move. It's so strange because I'm in the same condo, but I'm in a different hemisphere. Every day we wake up and it is almost pitch black outside because we are in polar night. The lightest that it gets is a light gray outside, which is very common this time of year in the North Pole. So we wake up in the pitch black. I shower. It takes 15 minutes for me to dress myself and the dog just so we can go out for literally a 2-minute potty break. First, I make sure I'm wearing my wool base. I've got fleece-lined wool leggings and a wool long sleeve shirt, and every day that is my base. That's what I would wear around the house. And then when we go out, I put on my Arctic snow pants and maybe an extra sweater, the coat, the winter boots, the first scarf that goes under the coat, my mask for COVID, hat, and then my red scarf wraps around for an additional block to the wind. The dog gets her harness, then I put on a fleece layered thermal sweater, a down coat with a hood, and then I have these wool thermal socks for her that go on before her snowshoes. She doesn't know where to go to the bathroom because there's so much snow. We're used to Chicago. We're not used to this. It's really upsetting. All of the food that I'm making are from leftover or frozen ingredients to just survive and feed myself because the delivery rates for groceries are a lot higher. I don't want to have a delivery person come in a storm. I just can't put that on my conscience. A lot of rice. And then my radiator started leaking. When I'm done with work for the day, it's pitch black outside because of the polar night. It's been an adjustment. We're equipped for it because we're from Chicago, but were we 100% ready and able to adapt? No, not so much. I do love the North Pole. I do love it up here. It's very beautiful. I think that we are beginning to adapt. But there are days where I really miss Chicago, and I really miss walking around the streets of Chicago, going to get a coffee. We're more self-sufficient up here. I think that it's a good experience for us, and I would actually highly recommend if anyone wants to come visit the North Pole, definitely come on up and see us because there's not much to do right now.